So we've got a few preparedness related questions. Janice has asked, I have a survival kit pack both at home and in the car. Is there any other places that she should have water stored? And Sarah has also asked how many days worth of food should she have at home? And then we've also got a question from Paul, and he'd like to know why emergency kits and plans aren't compulsory in New Zealand households. And Francis would like to know where the best place to find information is. So, Caroline, there's quite a few questions there, but do you want to maybe start with why aren't emergency kits and plans compulsory in New Zealand?
Yeah, really good question. And I guess, of course, we'd all love everyone to be fully prepared at home and at their workplace for any disruptive events in future. But it's a very difficult thing to make people do that. And there are various reasons why we shouldn't make people do that. One of them being that depending on people's personal resources, they may not have the money, for example, to spend on getting a whole lot of extra food in the cupboard, for example. Our public education agencies responsible for these sorts of messages about preparedness, EQC and the National Emergency Management Agency and a few others, work really hard to try and get these public education messages out. But it really comes down to a personal motivation to get prepared. There are lots of resources out there for people who want to know more about getting prepared and how much of different things that you might want to try and store at your house, or as the question asked around workplace preparedness as well, and that's another really important thing. I'm about to go next month with Alice actually over to the West Coast, and I always think about what I might need if we were stuck on a roadside somewhere on the West Coast, and I would have a preparedness kit in the car with us, which would probably include a sleeping bag, extra food and water, and any other first aid, and even an emergency locator beacon. I've just been doing my health and safety forms. It's a bit boring, but these sorts of things could be really, really important if you get stuck on the road. So if you're the sort of person who travels a lot for work, certainly having something prepared in your car would be useful. And I guess the other thing with preparedness is that some things we can do are really cheap and easy to do. Others are much more expensive. So we've heard people talking about removing chimneys. You can go to the extent of strapping your house to the foundations if they aren't already strapped down, which obviously helps to keep your house on its foundations during earthquake shaking. And then you can buy, water supplies, you can buy a torch and first aid kit. We find that most people have done those easy, cheaper things to do. Fewer people have done the more expensive things in terms of getting prepared and mitigating some of those risks around their home. So, there's a huge spectrum of things you can do. People sometimes go all out and do lots of things. Some people choose not to do anything, and it might be simply because they lack the resources and the capacity to do those preparations.